Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Now, you may notice on the screen here that things are a little bit darker. If the video was on over the last 10 minutes, it would have been hilarious because about 10 minutes before this live stream started, my electricity cut out, and it's been happening in my workshop about twice a day. Something sets it off, and I just have to go into the other room and restart everything. Of course, it turns off computers, it turns off cameras, and everything like that. So it's quite a process. But 10 minutes ago, the exact same thing happened. I don't know if I'm just overloading this thing or something. Got to get my husband involved with that one. But I tried flipping the breaker and it wouldn't stay on. I tried flipping it again, wouldn't stay on. So something is shorting this out. Anyway, so I'm running around. My heart is just going, ugh. I'm running around, basically running and getting extension cords, as many as I possibly can, that will extend from a little shed behind me here that I know was working. And that extension cord, I had to add 3 extension cords to make this work. And then I had to quickly plug in my computer, quickly plug in the camera, and here we are. I'm missing a lot of lights, but anyway, it's sort of have that nice sort of ambiance, you know, the soft, dim lights. Yeah, every day is an adventure. That's the truth. So I'm just gonna sit here and try to calm down, breathe, and yeah, get started in this. Let's just see what the chats are already. All right. Good afternoon from Albany, Westport, Massachusetts. Keith in Hillsborough, North Carolina. We can hear you good. Hello, everybody. 3D Sam. All right. And from Belgium, hello, Habisha. Good afternoon, Lansing, Michigan. Yes, TW, every day is an adventure. There's always something. Oh, all right, looks okay. All right, well, good. We got a little bit of shadow things happening here. Kansas City, Hilton Head, Washington. All right. Well, yeah, so if I can calm myself after that running around, yeah, I don't know. Actually, maybe this will work better. Then I won't have to rely on whatever's happening with the electricity in this place. So we have to get it sorted out before I desperately need the air conditioning. Right now, it's really nice weather. It's, you know, it'll be probably about 70 today. So perfect. No air conditioning, no heat. So we're good. But when it gets to that point where it gets to be 90, 95 in here, that's really hot. Okay. Looks okay from here. Had you not mentioned it, wouldn't have noticed. Okay. Good. Oxford, UK. Hello, Brian. Hal from Boston. All right. Well, you know what? The best way for me to calm down and relax is to carve. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And, you know, when I talk about sort of being tethered and wires going everywhere, it's worse today because I've got things going like across from the camera all the way to my extension cord. Okay, so hopefully everything will go. Now, if things do just sort of like collapse and I blow that circuit, I'll try to redo it again, but please be patient. Yeah, never let them see you sweat. Maybe I shouldn't share all this sort of behind the scenes information, you know, where it's like, no, everything is going perfectly smoothly every single day, just like that. No issues at all. Just, you know, 5 minutes before I turn on the camera and just everything works. Okay. Hello from Nelson and Cheryl in Saskatchewan. Hello. Well, thanks everybody for joining me. If you didn't have an opportunity to see yesterday's guest live stream, Peter Follansby, you can go back and watch that. Unfortunately, there was an issue with the title on that video, so it might have been a little confusing, and I apologize for that. It was still called test video because we were doing some testing of sound. And so, but you can watch it. It's now labeled guest, special guest Peter Follansbee, and I noticed some people have watched it, but it may have been very confusing. So sorry about that. The full, it's close to an hour and a half of video. He kind of hung on for a lot longer and just continued to answer questions and finishing his project. So it was a lot of fun. 17th century wood carving of the oak panels. Beautiful work. And he's fast. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, you can watch that archived video. All right. Hello, Bruce from Minnesota. Minnesota, you betcha. That's where I'm from. Okay, so I'm just going to get myself out of the way and calm down. And let's get some of this other stuff out of the way. And all right, you can see a bunch of my junk on my bench. Okay, Ozzy, hi from Connecticut. All right, so now actually I'm looking at this video and actually shows some really good shadow with the one side not lit up. So who knows, maybe it's going to work out better this way. So what I have done, I'm going to work on just dealing with the area of the scarf and leaving this sort of bumpy area for the hair. And so I'm just going to go around, excuse me. So I'm stepping on, actually, I've got a little riser, about a 2-inch riser. It's because this is such a tall carving. I've actually had to raise myself up a little bit. So I'm looking extra tall today. So what I did was I measured, and again, the whole thing about getting a reference point. There's a reference point at the top of the head, right? And there's a reference point at the base. So I can measure everything from those 2 points. So what I'm going to do is from the top to basically at the center point, which I drew down here, I drew that earlier, a visual center point going straight down this way. And so from that center point, right from there to there, that's that intersection between the edge of the scarf and the hair. And this is the center point there. And so I just drew that line there and then did a few more from there to there, right? Shrunk this down. Now there's so many ways you can do this measuring. You can take a square, which would probably be a little bit more accurate, but we're still kind of at that flexible point. Okay, and then from basically what I did was from the tip of the, let's put it this, the highest part, where the scarf goes up, it's the highest point. Let me just back her up. Probably can't see that. Basically the furthest point right there. All right, and from there to there, measured to the top of the head. All right, and again, it's really more of a visual, lining it up and from there to there. Okay, so that, fortunately, I can't see her on the other side. Okay, hello from Russia. Hello, welcome. What time is it there? Must be quite late, I'm guessing. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just start to lower this section here. So start to define that scarf area. And now what I want to do before I get too far is I want to make sure, I want to get the highest point from the base. Yes, thank you, Taito Alba. 714. I always forget that. I just sort of grab the tool that works. And it was funny watching Peter Follansbee yesterday, you know, grab the tool. Well, I don't know, it's about this big and about this curved. And I thought I was bad about misnaming and not knowing the names of the tools that I have. I thought, wow, I feel better. Because when I first started carving, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it, so ended up really just doing kind of a guesswork. And then the only time I actually ever really paid attention to the tools, is when people start asking me, well, what tool is that you're using? Well, I don't know. It's the one that works. Okay, so what I've done, that was a little hard to see, but basically I just took the measurement from the base, from the very bottom up to the top of the scarf, and I've got a line drawn there, from there to there. So this whole thickness there has got to go down. I don't know if you can see that, but okay. Hello from Iowa. Hello, Sandy. Okay, just gonna start to take this way down. And now basswood, I don't really need to use a mallet for this. If you have a sharp enough tool, it's not really that necessary. But if you wanted to, you can switch it out using the mallet, maybe sometimes pushing, sometimes using a mallet. Either way, it's quite a workout. This is where maybe I'm going to need that air conditioner going soon. All right, wood turner. Hi, Mary. Thanks for yesterday. Peter was terrific. Isn't he an amazing person? Very skilled, nice guy too. Now, speaking of wood turning, I know your name, Wood Turner. If you're familiar with Ashley Harwood here in Charleston, I have been in contact with her, and we're going to be trying to schedule a time for her to be a guest, and she does some amazing wood turning. So I will let you know exactly when that's going to be. We're going to do some test runs and get all her equipment running, and making sure that she's got all the right bandwidth and everything to make it a very smooth process. But if you see her, it's Ashley Harwood. She is going to, she's got a lot of YouTube videos also. So if you want to just see that and see what she's all about, does some amazing turning from really tiny, tiny, delicate little things to big, massive tables. And everything in between. Okay. Oops, hold on. Can you see everything? Are you working on that? Okay. So we're just getting the top of her head a little bit more accurate to the scarf. I'm going to have that little indent. So it's nice when there are particular details on this that you can actually use as reference points. This edge there is a very, very clear edge. It's almost a straight line. This edge is a little bit more difficult because there's so many variations, the edge of the hair. But we've got the chin, all right, so we can measure from here to here, down to the chin. You can also measure from the top down to the tip of the nose. You can measure from the top down to the eye, like the center of the eye. So there's a lot of things you can reference off the top of the head and just figure out where the depth is and where the locations are. And we're getting very, very close to that. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more of this. Now, if you saw the initial shaping of this with a grinder, I tried to get a lot of it, you know, just so this wouldn't have to do a lot of this type of thing. But and something also satisfying of getting a big grinder and just removing a bunch of wood really quickly. But you have to be careful when you're doing that, because you could easily get carried away and, you know, have this big pile of sawdust really quickly. Okay, make sure. so right along here, I'm hitting pretty much end grain right there, so I'm going to go ahead and start making some noise and going right across the grain. Okay, because I can't actually see what's going on over here, I'm going to leave this section until I can actually have them like right next to each other. A little bit more difficult to see it from this point. And I'm really trying to keep this positioned in an area in a way that you can see what's going on. At some point, I am going to have to turn this so I'm actually facing this side, and unfortunately, that's going to be really hard to show the process of carving it. Maybe I'll do it sort of sideways. Got some things wobbling here. I think she's tipping. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and start playing with this. I did enough of that big stuff. I'm going to start working on the face a little bit more and refining that, and just because it's so much fun to start seeing it really come out. And now also I'm gonna need to figure out this area right here. Do you see this position right there? That's quite a bit larger right now than what I have here. So I've got to thin this down and probably be reducing this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one little thing first. I'm just going to do, oh, hang on, I got to get a different one. Okay, so what I've got here is I'm just doing a, make sure I don't set it on any pieces of wood. All right, from there to there, and then just from there to there. So I'm measuring where the base of that little divot right there, right there. So I've got that. So from there to there, from there to there. See, it's still a little high. Okay. Ooh, actually, I think we need to be a little careful. Right about there. Okay, need to be careful that it's sort of, everything is kind of shifting down a bit. So that right there is the divot where that little, the bottom of it, right there. So that means that the chin needs to come a little bit down. So again, just do a little bit of measuring and making sure that we're in the right place. No, that was actually a coffee cup. It was not hitting hitting her marble head. All right, so from there to there, measure from there to there. That is the chin. So from there to there. Yep, the chin could probably be a little bit up further. So I'm going to go ahead and remove some of that. And there's a question here. What is your reference point on the basswood for the overall height? Same thing. What I do is I measure it from here. All right, measure it from there to there. The actual highest point, you can either just take, take a straight edge, take anything that you can pretty much gauge like that, all right, and then like that. So it's close. I've probably got about an extra 1/4 of an inch of this part right here of the overall height. I'm still sort of not kind of committed to that whole removing it. But I could, and that's going to be the height, the final height. So I'm basing it exactly off of her. So it's going to be exactly the same size. All right, let me just get it. Just go ahead and take that down. It's always scary doing that final amount. And you know what I was mentioning on one of the live streams, that if you just have a bunch of measurements, you can set up gauges, you can set up a square, make a mark, label that mark the highest point, and then you know you can do that especially if you make your own wooden one, make your own wooden square, you can mark it and label it, and then you can just constantly refer back to that and not necessarily having to keep measure her. And also when you're using the dividers, if you're going to be taking a measurement, let's say from the bottom of the chin to the base of the nose, if you've got several of these, it really helps. Label it, label it, and then you can just keep going back to it, and that ends up being a lot easier than having to sort of go back and fuss with it and keep going and keep repositioning the dividers and all of that. I mean, the vertical plane of the bust. Excuse me. I'm not quite sure what you're meaning by that either. I mean, you're talking about... Anyway, well, you might discover the answer to that, because I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. The divot is called the sternal notch. Sorry to be... Hey, we need to get some doctors in here. Peter said you don't need a pencil. Yeah. I'm using a pencil. I like pencils. All right, so from there to the bottom of the chin, from there to there. Okay, so very close. The chin is almost there. Now, I was teaching one class one time on carving the green man, and there was a doctor in the class, and it was fascinating because they were telling me all about what the little details of the mouth and this little divot here and the nostrils and everything. It's all these medical terms that I had no idea, and there's no way I can repeat them right now because they were some seriously complicated words. But it was really neat to see, to understand that, oh yeah, every little bit here has a name. I just say this nose thing, that little divot. It's probably why I'm a wood carver and not a doctor. I'd never be able to remember all of those terms. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and start to thin this part down. Okay, here we go. Rob, are you asking about how tall it would be sitting up in final position? Are you working from the top of the head as your reference point, working down, or do you have a bottom established? Okay, thank you, Rob, for clarifying that. I'm working strictly from the bottom, or from the top of the head. From this surface right here is exactly this surface. Everything then is going to be based off of that. And because if I don't, then it's all very vague. So if you have a set point there, then I can measure from there to the hairline, from there to the tip of the nose, from there to the base of the chin, from there to the, what was the name of that? That divot thing. See, I already forgot it. From there. So yes, a reference point is really critical, especially when you're trying to get an exact duplicate of it. So from there, and then also, so I've got basically two reference points, the top of the head and the base. I'm not relying on the lower end right here because I actually had to do a little bit of shifting of the shape of this. So it's all based on the top. So yes. Okay, so if you make a wooden square to mark and preserve various reference points, you'd have a story pole. Yes, you just have to be able to see them all, and then you can go along and you can do so many of them because there's so many reference points. Maybe the height of the rose, the height of this position, the height of the neck. All of those could be marked, and sometimes it'll work on a square. Sometimes you need to have the dividers, obviously if they're sort of interior spaces, like the position between the eye and the bottom of the chin or something like that. And the more reference points you have, the more accurate you're going to be able to make sure that they all line up. If the nose ends up going like where the eyes are, then you can't do a whole lot with that. You got to make sure it all works together. Okay, Mary's been working from the top down. The base is undefined. Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start to really work on this. And I know one of the questions before was, why do I keep sort of moving around? And the main reason for that is because it all has to work together. The position here, the angle here is going to have to work with the position of the neck. If I just work on one thing and focus on that, I could easily lose definition of what's around it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of kind of jumping around, or it seems like it's jumping around, but there is sort of a method to this. And now there's going to be an area where that rose, I have to leave an area where I leave the rose. I'm just going to leave a thickness of that right now. Oops, she's sort of rocking a little bit. All right, how are we doing out there? Okay. So this is all going to be quite a bit lower. I'm trying to not lose that reference point right there. I'll have to redraw it again. Okay, so I'm just going to take this a little bit further in, right there. And then, so the shape of the neck then kind of splays out. And can you see that? It basically, I'm looking at it from this angle. It's pretty even, but kind of raises up a little bit there and splays out along the sides. So it's kind of, there's a lot of trickiness happening there with the tendons, and if she's got a little bit of a tip neck, this part here changes and shows up a little bit more than the other side. That thingy. Okay, Howard watching from Newfoundland. Great instructions. Will you be offering instruction on how to carve eyes? Eventually. But you know what? That's the very last thing that I do. Because you know what's really creepy is carving into a face when it's staring at you. So when you, yeah, I sort of leave the eyes kind of glazed for a little while. But yes, eventually we'll get there. Now I've got some lessons on my online school about like faces, like carving the green man. There's one lesson on carving a face, and so I talk about carving eyes there. But yeah, we will get to it eventually. Probably the very last thing though. Mary, I've done master pieces for multi-spindle carving. I made up a stick using a short level and as a rough, and just grab the stick and level with, yep, and with stick marked and ID. Yep, and you hit the same spots each time. I hope that makes sense. Yes, basically it's the same thing. You can just take something like this, you know, basically line it up, make sure that that's lined up from there, and make a mark here, tip of the nose, chin, and mark that. And then you can line this up and bring it over here and line it up. So yeah, just anything you can do, just be creative with it. You can do it that way. And then if you want to base it on, you know, a square, just use any kind of square. I like using the wooden ones because it's a lot less potential damage on the stone. There's some real potential of me sort of keep going back and forth of just hitting and damaging the surface just with these very, very sharp points. So yeah, it would work a lot better and make my life a little bit easier. Sorry. So let's go ahead and do that and make my life easy. How does that sound? So let's just line that up, and we've got the nose. Why don't we just use that? So I'm going to mark tip of the nose right there, and I'll even label it nose. And then the bottom of the chin right there. And we can even do the mouth is right there. So chin, mouth. And my piece of wood is not smooth, so it's all bumpy. Then we got the top of the scarf is right there. So scarf. So obviously a pen would probably be working a little bit better. All right, so there, and then what else could we do from here? The top of the eye, basically the lid of the eye. All right. And now you can even do that for, based on that, I can do the start of the rose. Okay, so that's basically where I need to leave that chunk of wood. And then as long as it's lined up here, then I can go ahead and line that up. Line that up. It's not lining up. Let me just see. It's kind of lining up. I think I gave it a little bit of flexibility. Let's see. No, chin's right there. Chin. There's. I can't read my writing. Is that right? Doesn't look right. Okay. Yeah. I sort of have not wanted to commit to the nose position. So let's line that up like that. Right, like that. Mouth. So the nose actually is a little high. There, and that's the eye. And that's the start. Okay, everything else. So there's my fear, my fear of taking too much nose away. I basically have been sort of letting it drop and drop. So that right there is actually the tip of her nose. And so I have got quite a bit of wood to remove right there. But yeah, okay, let's see here. Thanks, Mary. Are you using about a 25.5? No, actually, this is a 7.14, just quite a small one. It's not really big. I've got a larger one like that, but this is, it's not really that big. If I start using a really large one, it's going to end up taking too much away, especially when we're starting to do these details. Okay, do you make your own wooden squares or do you buy them somewhere? That one actually is an antique. I just picked this up. You can make your own. It doesn't even really need to be a square, as long as you've got just basically a large piece of wood. You could use it that way too. You can This one is a little small. See, it doesn't actually reach the height of it. But just take even just a regular piece of wood. Here, you know what this? There we go. Well, one of my donuts. So just take it like that. Make sure it's square along the bottom, square along the top, and you can make your own. So it doesn't have to be fancy. If you want to make your own squares, you can do that. Okay. It wouldn't be difficult to make a divider set of wood to avoid the metal ones. Yes, and you can actually do the little, tightening, maybe a bolt or something, and have it make your own dividers. An excellent idea, because yeah, the whole issue of this is potential damage of it. We used to call storyboards. Yes. Yeah, they could be fastened with a wing nut. Yep. At the top to hold the arms in place. Exactly. Okay. There. I'm gonna have to go ahead and this is so scary, removing all that safety wood under the nose, but I'm doing it. Now I'm trying not to take a lot away from underneath, because the lips is such a subtle shape down there that I don't want to remove too much, so I can't define them well. And as I see, I'm sort of climbing over this, and it's not the easiest position to carve, because I'm kind of climbing over it and then having to reach way over. It's not the easiest, and probably not the safest either, for her or for me. Now that line that I drew, that is actually the eyelid. Okay, so one other thing that I want to do, I want to know exactly where the brow is. So let's just take this, make sure I've got it in the right position. Yeah, let's get it right side up. I better write that top. Yes, okay, top, yes, top. Because that would be bad if I switched it around and everything got off. All right, so we want to line that up, and then the position of the brow is just about there. Yeah, I'll make this a little bit clearer, maybe with a pen, but line that up, and the brow is actually quite a bit higher. See, now, do you see in the process of this? That was my original brow line. Yeah, just, yeah, a lot of shifting as I go. So that is the brow line, which means all of this hairline, I know it's still quite thick, so that can probably be shifted up a bit too. So anyway, there's a lot of just playing with it. Sometimes actually looking at the at the camera view helps me to see it from a different angle, because right now I'm sort of focused on it from here, but it does help sometimes to be able to see that. Okay. Made in error, use artistic license. I love it. Yes, that happens a lot. That's the flexibility of all of this. You don't need to get too stressed out about it, because you know what? I'm trying to make it look like this, but it might be just a little bit off. And I think that's probably one of the most difficult things to carve, is carve something that actually makes or looks exactly like another figure, a human figure, because there's so many subtleties in the face, so many subtle movements, you know, just the eye positions a little bit, you know, a little closer together, maybe a little larger eyes, completely changes the look of a face. All right. That was a good example of why you shift around and continually refine locations of features. Yeah. Yeah, well, when the eyebrows are half an inch too low, make her face look about this big. Well, you know, that's the funny thing about doing this live stream and just basically kind of figuring it out as I go, because you're kind of seeing all the, you're seeing all the process, you're seeing all the corrections, you're seeing all the all the things they go through from start to finish of, oh well, that didn't quite work out as planned. But you know, up until now, a lot of those lines and those guidelines were pretty vague, as you could tell. I mean, I basically almost literally just took my hand like that and said, yeah, okay, that looks good. And so there was a bit of that right at the beginning. So, but it's surprising how accurate your hand can be. All right, I think I might have to, just climbing over that is a little bit challenging, so I might have to reposition these. Before I do that, I want to just continue working on this. Taito, as long as it doesn't end up being a turtle, we're winning. Yes, thanks for the encouragement. If it turned out to be a turtle, I think I might want to put my chisels down. Time to take a break at that point. Okay. Let's see if there's any other comments. Actually, as you're progressing, it looks like you are in the ballpark. I hope so. I mean, it's kind of, yeah, somewhere. We're getting there. But this is the type of thing that I could just, you know, this is the type of thing you sort of get on a roll with, and you can get, you know, this is one of those things that you could get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and work on it, and you get that inspiration, and you say, okay, I need to just get past that one point, and I've done that before. But since I'm really trying to make this part of the live stream, I'm resisting going and working on it too much off screen. So I really am trying to do at least most of the process on the live stream, because so you can see, as you can see, even see the mess ups and the issues that I come across. Or there's no such thing as an error, right? It's just a design adjustment. Okay. This is basically the most interesting, the process of correcting errors. Yes. And what's wrong with carving turtles? Nothing wrong with carving turtles, except when you're trying to carve a human face. If the human face begins to appear like a turtle, there might be an issue in the process. Just maybe. You might want to reconsider. You might want to just stand back and look at it for a little while and say, where did I go wrong on that? Says the person who owns the bust watch. She's sort of turned away right now. No, I'm not sure, actually. I don't think so. I don't think so, but after I'm done with it, I can show her and tell her. You know, she can re-watch it afterwards. But I doubt it. And that would be really bad if it did turn into a turtle. And she was expecting to to be a duplicate. All right, now I don't know if you can see that, but that's where the glue line is, and the grain, it's not going to be an issue, but the grain potentially does change right there at the glue line. All right, Ozzy, but if you're carving a face and it turned into a turtle, that would be artistic license, wouldn't it? It would, but yeah, I don't know if you're doing this for a client and you hand them a turtle. Yeah, I might be going hungry that month. Speaking of that, I haven't ever really carved a turtle. The only time I actually carved a turtle was out of soap. And it's a great lesson to help kids get started with carving. I have it on my YouTube channel. If you have children or you're wanting to get started, give them a bar of just regular old ivory soap or something like that and carve a turtle. It's a lot of fun. And then you get all these nice shavings that you can just jump in the bathtub afterwards, throw all the shavings in. I don't even know if I have this up here. Where would that turtle be? Oh, I don't know where it ended up. Somewhere. Okay, Esker, just speaking of customers, how do you price your work? That's a tricky one because there's so many unknowns. Like, for instance, for this one, I'm just doing this for myself, really. My friend lent me this after I fixed her nose on it. I asked her if I could keep it for a little while. But so this isn't really for a client. But what I try to do is I try, just based on, carving similar things, you can guess how long it's going to take. But more than likely, it's going to be underestimated of really how much it's going to take, especially something like this, that you're kind of discovering things and figuring out shapes along the way. So usually, usually I try to do it by time, by actual time that I am that I think it's going to take. It's very difficult to do, like in construction where you do cost plus, you just can't do that with carving. Usually people won't accept that. Sometimes it works if you've got really flexible customers, but usually they want to know what it is. And, there are times when I made well below minimum wage when I'm carving. But fortunately, I really like my work. So, yeah, when it starts to get, $3 an hour, maybe $2 an hour, that's when I put the chisel down and say, maybe I need to rethink this. Or that's when I know when it is time to stop. time to put the chisel down and just say enough. But that is the hard part, and I try to base it on just how many hours I think it's going to take, or even to the point of how many days I think it's going to take. And then you gauge how much you want to get per day. And, that ranges. I know woodworkers who are doing furniture making who have shop time at $75 an hour. It's very difficult to do that with carving because it just requires so much time. And I know woodworking also, and furniture making and cabinet making. It's tough, and unless it's a really fast process, that's going to be really hard to price it that way. So then you ask yourself, how badly do I want the job? And do I really need the job? In this climate, I say, yeah, sure, why not? Whatever. Anything. Okay, hang on. Speaking of customers, Kramer, do your children carve? Well, not really. Taito Alba has edited my videos for over 5 years, so if he ever put a chisel in his hand, it would probably just come so natural just by osmosis of watching and editing every video that I've done. So we'll get him in here. That's what we need to do. I need to get you in here on the live stream. There you go. We'll get you carving for the first time on live stream. Yes. The channel is not sponsored by Ivory Soap. No, but maybe I could get some money off that. All right. Mary, we talked about sharpen and stropping question. How many grits of stone do you use on average? The number that I used is 1,200 and 8,000 for the diamond stones I use. So I use the 1,200 to do the rough shaping and the kind of really getting that wire edge, and then finish it off with an 8,000. Okay. 2010, give them some soap. There you go. Start with some soap. Sure would like to meet your kid. Well, we need to get them on this side of the video. Yeah, they're kind of shy. I need to give myself a haircut first. No one wants to see this mess right now. Yeah, I have a feeling a lot of people are dealing with that right now. When was the last time we had a haircut? And actually, there was this funny post somewhere. I don't know if it was on Facebook or something, and a picture of this big beard. And somebody said, "This is what we're all going to look like in about 2 months." And I responded, "Oh, I hope not," because that would be really scary if I started growing a beard because of this isolation. Yikes! Yeah, that would be way too much isolation. When it's like time to go, get out. Okay, yes, and my grandbaby, yes, I know. All this, hopefully this will be back to normal very quickly. Awkward times. The hammer, the marble bust is rocking while you were carving in that area. Thank you. I think we lost the little support. All right, there we go. Thanks. Don't think it's an issue, but yes, it could. If it starts sort of moving off my bench, let me know, okay? All right. Wow, that an hour just went by. That's crazy. I was really lost in this thing. Okay, so I think we're getting this down, and I think next time what I will probably do is reposition this in such a way that I can start working on this part of the head, and I may end up doing a little bit of this area on my own, just because it's going to be so hard to show that. So anyway, so it's coming. Just getting a little bit more, a little bit more. It is surprising how long it does take. I mean, I've been doing this, this is probably the 4th live stream. So, I mean, I talk a lot in the process, and I end up, it's not a full hour. So, maybe 3 hours total so far. I lose track of how many I'm doing. So I'm guessing, I don't know how long, I'm not even going to guess how long it's going to take. So, okay, let's see here. Let's see if there's any final. Well, if this keeps on, I'm going to be sporting a ponytail. Let's see. Mary has all the tools you may. No. Here's all the tools that you may need to give you that haircut. Oh, that's dangerous. Get my chisel out. Miss Bennett needs a pillow. Well, you know what the difficulty is? If I put her on a cushion, then I can't get a really accurate base. When I do the squares or anything like that, it's off. It wouldn't be that flat surface. And so, because I did have her on that cushion before, and there was just that tiny error that could end up making a big difference. All right, well, we're getting there slowly but surely. This might be a Friday question, but how do you repair wooden carvings with chips missing? Depends. If it's painted, I still have, you should be able to go back into the archived ones about the plaster repair, and that was a painted sculpture, and I used a like a wood putty, epoxy wood putty, and you can make it that way and then shape it and carve it and then paint it. So it depends on if it's painted. If it's painted, you can always do that, use the wood putty. But if you are actually having to repair or replace wood, then I try to get a very square space cleared so that it joins nicely. Getting sort of odd shapes is a little bit more challenging. So try to just create a square, create whatever you're adding onto it, also create that flat, and then just glue it. You can glue it with regular wood glue, or you can do a redesign. So if I, knock her nose off or something like that, her face is going to go back this way a little bit. I still have a lot of room. Yeah, that's one way. Okay, so how do you repair wooden carvings with chips missing? And that's basically it. You can add pieces of wood. If you have broken off something and you still know where that piece is, you can always glue that, and that's just regular wood glue. If you can find her nose if it breaks off, that's another way. Crame Surf. I'm reading David. I'm guessing that's Esterly. How do they hold down all that delicate work? David Esterly. I'm guessing you're talking about the Grinling Gibbons expert who wrote the books on Grinling Gibbons, and also worked on the repair of some of the burned carvings over in England. It's David Esterly. He many different ways. You can use just like a dots of glue. You could do that as long as it's not so much that it'll permanently stick. I'm not quite sure how they actually did it, 300 years ago, but probably some type of maybe even like a hide glue. I know one of the glues, it might be hide glue, which actually you can soften with heat. I think it's hide glue. I can't remember, but that might be something also, because hide glue was often the wood or the glue that they used back 200, 300 years ago. So there's just a lot of options. Sometimes just clamping it. Okay. That's a terrifying thought about carving your hair away. Okay. It's like, Woodcarver Jake, thank you. I'm still learning what all the little flashing triangles are. still learning through this Twitch thing, but thank you. I know that's a good thing. All right, so I am going to close down. JWT Woodworks on Instagram TV is doing his live stream. He starts at 2 o'clock, and that's a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now. So please join him if you wish more about the woodworking part of it. I will let you know, I guess, who the next guest is, and there'll probably be somebody next week, either Tuesday or Thursday. I'd like to leave it open because a lot of times guests, they'll end up probably extending the time a bit, and I don't like to sort of cover up as I want to end on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I like to end at 2 o'clock to give people opportunity to go watch the JWT Woodworks. So, but Tuesdays and Thursdays are a little bit more flexible, but I'm here at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time every weekday. And I've been doing this now, I think 6 weeks. So it's kind of exciting. I'm in each day, it just gets a little bit better, a little bit, refining. Except now I have to figure out what's happening with my electricity. So anyway, so let's see. Any final things? Thank you, everybody. We will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And I'm going to try, actually, to get Ashley Harwood in as a sort of testing it out. Maybe tomorrow, like towards the end of the live stream. Just so we, like we did with Peter at first, with Peter Follensby, come in for 10 minutes or so at the end just to sort of chat and introduce them and make sure everything is working well. So anyway, so everybody, happy carving, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Bye-bye.